While Democrats are rallying behind Kamala Harris, Republicans are already attacking her both on the airwaves and on the campaign trail. Take a listen.
For 3.5 years, Lion Kamala Harris has been the ultra-liberal driving force behind every single Biden catastrophe. She is a radical left lunatic who will destroy our country. If she ever gets the chance to get into office, we're not going to let that happen.
Let's bring her in our political panel, Shelby Talcott and Brakkton Booker. Shelby is a politics, there's that word, reporter for Semafor, and Brakkton is a national political correspondent with Politico. Hello to you both. So we're watching former President Trump figure out in real time exactly how he wants to frame Kamala Harris. What he's settled on for now is a radical lunatic. How's that playing?
It's not playing well right now, at least with this big enthusiasm bump that Kamala Harris has gotten since rising to the top of the ticket, right? Certainly it plays well with his base, but you're seeing this newfound energy on the Democratic side, and they are looking to, like, punch back on the Trump campaign with anything they got. And they're saying, look, being racist, look at this guy. They cannot stand up to a woman who's strong and qualified. So right now it's backfiring as far as whether or not he will be able to use those attacks and bring in some independents, maybe some people who are on the fence. But right now I think he's still trying to figure out what those tax lines are going to be and whether or not they can land.
What are you hearing from your sources on the Trump team? Is this kind of where he's headed, that she's dumb, that she's, you know, one of the most radical politicians ever?
Yeah, one of the big things that Donald Trump's campaign is really trying to do in the next few weeks is tie her to Joe Biden's policy and his administration, while also arguing that she is further to the left and more progressive than Joe Biden. And so we're sort of starting to see hints of that strategy, you know, through his campaign aides, through his rallies. He's starting to sort of hint at that sort of argument that she is more progressive than Joe Biden. But they also want to tie her to things like immigration and the economy. And so they're sort of trying to craft this multifaceted argument that she is equal to Joe Biden, but worse at the same time.
Brakkton, I want to ask you about this list of a dozen or so potential VP candidates that is taking shape. You know, what does it tell you about, you know, her thinking and where the campaign is headed, that it's very heavy on governors, one senator that we know of, a couple of cabinet members as well. You know, where does she want to end up, do you think?
And certainly right now the leading candidates seem to be all white males, so it seems like they're...
Only a couple women on that list.
Yeah, but so it looks like they're kind of leaning into this Obama playbook, saying, like, look, if this candidate is going to make history, we have to couch this a little bit by having kind of the safe pick. I think they're couching it with the idea of, well, we need to have geographical diversity and try to pull in some of these other states that may be falling off the Democratic map and try to bring them back into the fold. What I think you're seeing is someone who, she's looking for somebody who she can really vibe with and have a partner with, because she had a very good partnership with President Biden. She's looking for somebody who she can have a partner with, but I think she's trying to make sure that it is a safe pick.
That might speak towards somebody like a Roy Cooper, who she served as an AG with. She was the AG of California. He was the AG at that time of North Carolina, so they go back a long ways. Shelby, what are your sources telling you about how both Trump himself and the Trump campaign are feeling about the choice of J.D. Vance 1 week in?
Well, of course, when you talk to Donald Trump's campaign, they maintain that it doesn't matter. Donald Trump was on a press call with us yesterday, which is fairly unusual for this campaign, that he called into this press call, and he maintained that he had, you know, he was still very happy with J.D. Vance. There has been speculation that he was unhappy with the pick because of this shift. But in terms of Harris's vice presidential options, I think among Republicans I talked to, the big concern is, of course, Shapiro, because of Pennsylvania. That's such a big state going into this election. And also Kelly is another one that they're keeping an eye out for because of his background, because he's an astronaut, and because he was in the military. And so he can kind of size up against Vance in a way that they didn't think Harris would be able to originally.
Yeah, I saw Chris LaCivita, one of the top officials on the Trump campaign, tweet out yesterday that the pick is Shapiro, which obviously there isn't a pick yet, so there's no way anyone could know that, and most certainly not the Trump campaign. Why did he do that?
Well, I think, again, it's sort of getting ahead of the news, right? Unless he has some insider information that we don't know. I mean,
really
who knows?
Interesting if he did.
Perhaps, but you know, I don't know who she's going to pick. But yeah, I think it's sort of getting ahead of the news. They're certainly preparing for a Shapiro or for a Kelly or for some of these options that might make the race more difficult, given, you know, the dynamics of what the map looks like.
You know, I was talking to a campaign official in North Carolina today. They were saying that after the Harris pick was announced, they saw a surge of donations, not just to her campaign, but to other Democratic campaigns that had nothing to do with her, and new donors that they had never heard of before. It's almost like there was this pent-up desire on the part of Democratic voters to get involved, and once President Biden stepped aside and she stepped in, it kind of unleashed that excitement. How does the Trump campaign counter that, particularly financially, now that the Biden campaign has seen this huge influx of cash?
Yeah, Donald Trump's campaign has maintained, actually his pollster sent out a memo this week arguing that this is what they expected. They expected sort of this momentum because Democrats were just so relieved that Joe Biden finally wasn't on the ticket. And they're sort of arguing to people, just wait. Of course, they're calling it the Harris honeymoon stage. And they're saying, let's see how everything looks several weeks from now. And so that's sort of been their argument is, of course, she's going to get all of this momentum. Democrats were so fed up with Joe Biden. He was not only hurting the presidential ticket, but he was hurting down ballot candidates. So wait and see is sort of their public posturing on this.
Right. And, you know, all that money is great, but you have to have a strategy for what you're going to do with it. And they are only 5 days into this entirely new world of the Harris campaign rather than the Biden campaign. What is the campaign doing to try to shift the operation and refocus it around Kamala Harris?
Well, right now you're seeing the vice president kind of go and kind of shore up some of her own bases, right? You see her addressing the sorority Phi Sigma Beta, and she's also shoring up the teachers union. She was in Houston today, and her first stop was in Milwaukee, which is a critical city for Democrats if they're going to hold on to Wisconsin. That's where the majority of the black voters are located. So I think as the campaign goes on, you're going to see her start to branch out a little bit, maybe go to some more swing states and really try to pound the flesh of maybe some independent voters. Right now, operation was, hey, we got to keep everybody on board. She went to Delaware, had the speech, got everybody riled up, and right now she's trying to make sure that everything stays great at home.
Go where you know you're going to be embraced.
Absolutely.
Brakkton Booker, Shelby Talcott, thank you both so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.